Hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about how to customize various aspects of a user profile. So I'm going to pretend I'm going to log in as a CE user, content editor user, which I created in a previous session, which I did on workflow. So feel free to go back to that and watch how I created that user. But this user has a very simplistic role assigned to them, meaning they can't access most of the tree, they're not an administrator, etc. So if you go into this and you log in, which I'm going to go ahead and do, you'll see, like I said, they're a very minimal role assigned to this user, and therefore they cannot access much of the site or the shell. What I want to show you is how you might change your password, and you might change some other various settings. Not too much can be done, but various settings that you can change. So most of this can be done through the control panel. So we'll click on over to that. In a previous session, I already showed you how you can change the desktop background. This is another way you can do that. I showed how you can do that from the desktop itself, but this would be another option you have. Then you can change application options. These are various settings that you can change for your application or for the shell itself. So, for example, bucket items. You could see all the items of a bucket without, if you've ever created a bucket before or you haven't watched any of my previous tutorials, you'll know that when you create a bucket, if you don't have this option checked, you'll see something along the lines of this bucket is hidden or bucketable items are hidden. So if you want to see the structure of those bucketed items, then you just click on bucket items. You can also change some other various settings here. Also, if you go over to the view tab, you can change some other options. Show entire content tree. This would show you the entire tree, which might be more important for a standard user to see, because what sometimes happens when this option isn't selected is then when you're in the content editor and you've clicked on media library, the main hierarchy of your content tree might kind of focus in on the media library, and now you can't see what was in the content area of your content tree. If you want to make sure that that never happens, you can click on show entire content tree. There's some other various options for personalization and test lab or testing. In addition, there's also, you can change how content items in the content tree are displayed to you. Would they display using the display name, which is the most common option, or using the item key, which is less common because it's more of a developer focused item name, and it's also the item name or the parameter that's used when pulling in information for your site, although you can change that as well. So that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go too much more into that. Another thing you can do is change password, which I'll show here in a second. That's the main point of this tutorial, is changing your password if you ever want to do that, which I would recommend, because when your user account gets created, it's usually going to be created with a specific password. This gives you an option to change that password. Another option is changing personal information. This is just, you can change your name to whatever you want it to be instead of content editor. You can change your email address so that you can get alerts to this email address that you're changing it to. And you also can change your icon. If you're not okay with just having a black silhouette for your icon, if you're a man, then you might choose a specific man picture. If you're a woman, then you might choose a specific woman picture. Since I'm a man, I will choose a man option. This kind of represents me. It's just saying that you're saving some changes, and to make these changes take effect, the browser is refreshed. Lastly, a few last options is region and language options. These are if you want, let's say you live in another country and you're working with Sitecore, you can actually change the shell language. So if you wanted to be all in German or all in Japan or Japanese, you can do that here. And there's probably a way to extend these as well, so you can add additional display languages if needed. And then just formats, which is just how it formats all these date times, etc. So not important. Another option is to reset the default settings. So if you change all these settings, or you accidentally change your language to Japanese, and now you can't read your interface, then click this last option. Lastly, there's a few other options here. These are kind of outside the scope of this tutorial. If you need to know the licensing information for your Sitecore instance, this is where you can find it. And the reports is where you can create general reports. These are already coded reports, various aspects of Sitecore. So if you wanted to see what broken links are there, you can just run this report. And you can also scan the database for untranslated fields. Last but not least, like I said, I'm going to cover change password. So if you click on change password, you want to change your password to something else. You have to type obviously your current password, and then you can change it to something else. If you ever lose your password, the administrator can actually reset your password. So I'll change the password there. And I'm not going to show how to an administrator can change your password. That might create some security concerns if everybody, a basic user, figures out how to do that. If they are accidentally an administrator, they might go in and change everybody's passwords, which is not a good idea. Basically concludes today's tutorial. If you have any questions about this or have any concerns or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. I can be reached on my Twitter, on my LinkedIn, or any of the various forms I'm going to provide down in the description for this post. All right, thank you.